All right, welcome back to the shop. Long overdue project that we haven't touched on in a while is the Trans AM. We've been waiting on some brake parts. We're putting a Hydro Boost master cylinder kit in it with a Willwood master cylinder and a Hydro Boost kit and brake lines and all that stuff for the front. So it's been preventing me from lowering the engine in it. It's ready to go in. It's just wanted to get all the brake lines and stuff ran beforehand. We've been waiting, I think, since the beginning of October for the brake lines, and this is New Year's Eve 2021. So we had some free time today. We're gonna go ahead and work on the fuel system. We haven't done anything with it in a while, and I'm ready to go ahead and get it going. I ordered a line kit with fittings and all that stuff so we can run our lines, but we never did put our fuel pump in and our sending unit permanently, at least. We did size them up in a previous video. If you want to go check that out, it shows you how to do the hoses and cut your rod for the sending unit. But we're going to use copper coat on the gaskets. And I had to order that and even had trouble getting that. So we're gonna copper coat these gaskets both sides so we can seal these the pump and the sending unit on this Tank Inks fuel tank. So we'll get set up and get going on that. You want to shake up your copper coat real good, get the copper mixed up just like spray paint. Just shake it up real good. The copper gets it floating back through the compound there. Excuse me. Went ahead and slid this gasket over the pump sock so I don't get all this stuff all over the sock. I'm going to coat this side and slide it up, and then I will coat the bottom once I've got it slid up, and then I'll slide it down in. This is probably going to be messy. Stuff sets up in about 2 minutes, it says. So you don't have a gigantic window, but you do have a window. And I'm dripping it all over my brake box for my El Camino. Y'all been following that, any videos on the El Camino? The projects are starting very soon on that, trying to get it ready for sick week. Having a hard time getting the parts I want to do all the things that I want to do to it, so we don't know how far we're going to get. On building that, but at least the rear end housing, the axles and the brakes came in. We're waiting on the center section still. And waiting on a camshaft to come in for the motor. I mean, I don't even know if I'll get, I may end up driving it down there with a stock 283 and the stock Power Glide. We're just running out of time. You can't get parts like you used to be able to. Everything's months out. I'm talking months. It's very difficult to get what you want right now. I'm still waiting on a brake kit for a Jeep for a friend of mine. We're going to upgrade his front brakes with a little bit bigger caliper and pad setup. It's just like a bracket caliper and better pads for the front. We've been waiting on that since last April, or March or April, I can't remember which. Long time. I'm talking all summer, all spring, all summer, all fall, now into winter, and we still don't have it. Okay. So go this way. making a mess. This stuff is sticky. Anytime I'm tightening anything, I crisscross pattern everything. I see a lot of videos of guys putting stuff together and they just start tightening around in a circle. That is not how you tighten gaskets down. You're always going to crisscross the little increments. You don't want to over tighten it and squish your gasket out. Give it one last little snug. I could tighten the crap out of this if I wanted to. I could really mash it down, but you don't want to bust your gasket out. You don't want to mash your gasket out. You'll crack all this cork gasket. I already slid this in. Of course, you want your ball float this way. You don't want it to be floating up against the wall, so this is difficult to get in and out, so I'm not going to pull it back out and show you. But as you can see, the ball float is going to float up this way. I'm going to go ahead and paint the gasket this just like we did on this one, and lower it down and get that thing sealed up. Okay, so this is how I ended up with it. These holes are not, they look like they're evenly spaced out, but they're not. So I had to end up clocking this thing around to the left to get the bolt holes to line up. So I believe that the float is floating out this way, which I flipped the tank. I turned the tank upside down and just so I could hear the float go back and forth, and it is floating. It is moving up and down. Make sure it wasn't stuck or anything, because I got in a little bit of one of those little panic situations where the glue's setting up and your gasket stuff's setting up and your shit's not lining up and you're just like, all right. So I started clocking it around, but I did get the micrometer out and measured. So the distance between here and here is not the same between here and here, or here and here, or here and here. So I don't know if it's just the way they drilled it, or if that's how it's supposed to be, but I ended up having to clock it. So if you're running into that, don't do what I did and let it sit around for 6 months before you assemble it. You should probably go ahead and make sure before you put any sealer on that you know exactly that the bolts are going to line up. Go ahead and run your bolts in on the dry gasket. Do a dry run, which I should have done that, but I didn't. Or maybe I did before and just don't remember because it's been sitting around so long. So it is what it is. We got it down. Hopefully there's enough gasket material from left on it, gasket maker, to seal it up good. I'm sure it will be fine. I've never had a problem with anything like that before leaking. So it's in the top too. So you'd have to have this thing slammed full of gas and sloshing it all over the place to get any leak out of the top of a tank like that. Which is possible. You could do it. Somebody can do it, I'm sure. All right, we're gonna move on to the next step. Our next step here is plumbing. I've got this fuel kit from Summit, and it comes with all the fittings here, a regulator, which I've already installed, the quick connect to -6 that's going to go for the feed to the engine, and then we're going to have an in and an out. This is the return line. This is the in. This is going to return back to the tank. So fuel will come in. It regulates it to, I think, 50 psi, and then pushes what it doesn't need back to the tank, and this goes to the engine. So you only have one line coming from the engine, or coming from the fuel filter to the engine. So we'll mount this somewhere back here. I haven't picked a spot yet where we get the tank in it before I figure out exactly where I put this, probably, but that's what we're working on. So now figure out what fittings I need for my gas tank. I think it's these two right here. No, those are -6. That may be them. We're gonna need two to screw in here. Got the return, R for return, S for supply, and this is a vent. And then you have another tank vent here. These are the only ones I see with 3/8, like MPT pipe thread type stuff in the kit. So this has got to be my two that go to the top of the pump. All right, it's saying these are quarter NPT, so I was wrong. It's not 3/8, it's quarter. These will screw in here. In there, and I'll put some liquid Teflon pipe sealer on those, and that way the threads seal up nice and tight. Yeah, we don't have any leakies. I don't like any leaks. Okay, so it comes with two different size quick connects, and the reasoning for that is we've got two different size lines here. The return line is a 5/16. Quick connects on there like that. And then we'll have a -6 line that screws on there. And then we have the 3/8. And the same goes for that. Hopefully we have enough room there for our fittings. So we'll have our fittings will go on like that. This bar will be in the fuel line. Yeah, should have plenty of room. So that'll go like that. And this will go like that. And so forth and so on. And what I like about AN stuff is it doesn't require any Teflon tape there, any O-rings or anything like that. This taper, when you tighten it down, it seals. And if you have a good set of AN wrenches, that's all you need. And this is the first time I've ever used this style of, usually I use steel braided line that you have to crimp it down. You got a nut and a collar, and it mashes down. This stuff, you just lubricate it, shove it in the end of the line, and that's it. It's supposed to seal itself as long as you got it buttoned all the way up. You got it slid all the way into its rubber. It's supposed to seal up fine. So this is the first time I've ever used this kind. We'll give it a show. It's twist lock hose ends. So you just basically twist it, shove it into the end of the hose, and these barbs basically take the fuel pressure. I mean, these things run at 50 psi is what it's regulated down to, so that pump may be putting out 100 psi or 80 psi, and it's this filter regulates it down to what we need up at the engine. Of course, you can get adjustable fuel pressure regulators like on race car setups, but we're trying to simplify the process on this car. The engine came with a computer that is pre-tuned. I don't have to tune this thing. It's basically plug and play. Once you get the wiring, your powers and grounds established, and get it all laid out, I won't have to tune it. I don't have to adjust fuel pressure regulations. Just wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Hopefully be turning the key and burning rubber. All right, so we got another one here, which should go to the engine, to the fuel rail on the engine. Excuse my junk. So that will slide on there. Okay, so that's basically what our regulator is going to look like when it's done. And I added that straight to there. And then we added, I'll probably have this curved piece, this curved fitting here, and then this straight, and have the fuel lines come this way over to the over to the frame rail and come down to the regulator. So those will come across like basically over here, so I can have them come hit the frame rail and come down the frame rail, and we'll have the regulator somewhere in this neighborhood. And then we'll have one line coming to the front that will come up the driver's side and come over, and I added this fitting to there. None of this is tight, so that is going to be how that is done. Okay, so that's going to sum up our fittings and how we're going to do things. We got everything popped into the tank. In the next video, we'll be installing the tank and running the fuel lines and buttoning up the fuel system. Hopefully our brake lines will come in very soon, and we will get that stuff installed. Here's I got to figure out rod links, because this stuff is way too long, I believe, that came in this kit. It's supposed to fit, but it's going to be cut to fit. I'm not very impressed with the kit so far, and definitely not impressed with the time frame of getting our lines. Of course, I do like the Wilwood master cylinder, and hopefully this hydro booster will work good, but I got to have all the lines that go to it. They go to the power steering pump. We got to have those lines, and we've got to have the lines. I ordered brake lines from the master cylinder, steel braided lines down to run to the wheels from the proportion valve, I believe. It's been a while since we ordered all this stuff. I can't remember exactly what's supposed to be in the kit. All I know is all I've got is basically this and the adjustable proportion valve. It's laying around here somewhere. And that's it. So those videos are coming up very shortly. Hopefully, I heard from the owner of this car, Robert, said that they sent him an email saying that they had shipped, but that was like a week ago, and I still haven't seen him. So hopefully he will show up after the 1st. Well, the 1st is tomorrow. This is New Year's Eve, so Happy New Year's, guys. If you haven't, please hit that subscribe button. Give me a thumbs up. Hit the bell notifications if you want to see these videos right when they drop. We do a lot of automotive stuff, and we throw in a random video here and there, product review or whatnot. So stop by and check us out again. Appreciate you watching. Peace. Happy New Year.